conflict between beings from the Orion system and another group of beings from this Pleiades system.
While archaeologists still debate the true purpose of the Serpent Mound, ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer may be found in the traditional stories of the native people of the region, a people whose legends tell of a great battle waged between a serpent and visitors from the Pleiades.
According to the legend, there were two entities involved in this great battle: a water serpent and the Thunderbird, which represented star people from the Pleiades culture. So we may have had two extraterrestrial races battle.
There were several kinds of extraterrestrials who were coming to the planet, and one type of extraterrestrial was a reptilian, serpent type of humanoid entity. And some people think that they were fighting wars over domination of planet Earth. And it seems the reptilians won the battle.
In many ancient Indian texts, there are descriptions of weapons of mass destruction. You can read about single projectiles charged with all the power of the universe, as bright as 1,000 suns, which reduced to ashes an entire race, and all food was infected. During the first Egyptian pyramid war, a weapon was let loose that brought death to all in a single moment. Also, when Zeus battles the Titans, weapons were used that hurled the earth into ruin. A great part of the huge earth was scorched by a terrible vapour when Zeus was conquering Typhoon. In the glow of a blazing fire did the earth melt down. Even during the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham saw smoke rising from the earth as a smoke from a furnace. Some experts have even compared Sodom and Gomorrah to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Fused or melted bricks have been found in Pakistan from 4,000 years ago. In one of the oldest chronicles of India, they mention rising into the air in a huge shining metal vessel, from which they launched a great shining lance. It burst in the city of their enemies with a great ball of flame that shot up into the heavens. Even those who looked upon the lance and the ball of fire were blinded forever afterwards. Even the dust of the city was poisoned, as were the rivers that flowed through it. So who was these gods in these ancient texts, and why was they fighting? The first written recordings we have of them comes from the Sumerians and called them the Anunnaki. They came to Earth and created humans to be their slaves, to mine gold. They spread throughout the globe, and the humans that they created came to worship them as gods. This is where most of the population of humans come from today. Interestingly, Caucasian or white people have only been inhabiting the earth for the last 6,000 years, and arose with full agriculture and domesticated animals, which they shared with the rest of the world. There are a lot of anomalies in Europe, like the Baltic Sea anomaly, the Nebra sky disk, and early European cave drawings, all pointing at a position located in an area of the sky called the Taurus constellation, and especially to the Pleiades star cluster, which is located inside the Taurus constellation. These Pleiadians were the ones at war with the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki used their human slaves to fight their wars, even though they was closer to the Pleiadians than the Anunnaki. To create the humans on Earth, they had used Pleiadian DNA. That's why the Pleiadians are sympathetic to humans, and the Anunnaki can treat humans like slaves. When these Pleiadians came to Earth, it was called Hebrew or Hebrew by the Anunnaki. This is where the biblical story starts, sometime around 2000 BC. The Sumerians wrote of weapons of mass destruction in Gilgamesh and the Bull of Heaven, another mention of the bull. In the Sinai Peninsula, glass has been found, which must be heated in excess of 3,200 degrees Fahrenheit. There are many Sumerian texts that go into detail about exactly what was going on. They talk about weapons being fired from Africa, hidden in a cave, and Babel may have been a spaceport that was destroyed to stop it from falling into enemy hands. The Pleiades are even mentioned in the story of Hannibal crossing the Alps, and when Alexander the Great was crossing the Indus River, gleaming silver shields swooped down and made several passes over the battle. It seems that when Alexander was going through Muslim lands, they was telling him of this great evil called Gog and Magog. So Alexander vowed to seal the entrance, but no one knows where this entrance was. The description of the story makes it sound like it was somewhere in the ground, like they was trying to block up an entrance to an underground facility. In the Alexander romance they are called Goth and Magoth. Maybe these people can be affiliated to the Anunnaki. They do have a disdain for humans and are depicted in a non-human form. But then who is Gog and Magog? People have described them as the Scythians, which may correspond to the Scythians and the Huns uniting to take Europe. But in the end they was defeated. If you look back in time to where the Scythians come from, you will find that they originate from the Khazaria Empire and are now called Ashkenazis, which sounds very much like Anunnaki. From a recent study in 2003, Genghis Khan's DNA is present in about 16 million men alive today. Could the Mongolian Empire have been helped by a cloned army? We know the Anunnaki was masters of genetics, so this wouldn't be too far-fetched. After the Great Battle of about 2000 BC, a lot of the Anunnaki fled. Some went to the moon. You see a lot of moon worship, especially in Islam. Some people say that Allah is the ancient Arabian god of the moon. Interestingly, the Muslim holy month of Ramadan starts at the sighting of a new crescent moon. They pray while bowing their head towards the house of Allah in Mecca that houses a meteorite. There are many different signs that point towards Islam worshipping the Anunnaki. This was all going on exactly the same time as Christianity. This was like a continuation of the ancient war, but without the gods this time. The Anunnaki have tried to take Europe by subversive means many times, starting with the French Renaissance and the latest one being the Soviet Union. Once the Anunnaki had taken France, they then tried to split up the British Empire. So why is this, you may ask? Why did France want to split up the British Empire? As I've mentioned before, the Anunnaki are slave traders. That's all they want humans for. So you may have heard about the stories of Napoleon trying to bring back slavery. At the same time, the British Empire trying to end slavery. This was a war for humanity's freedom, and luckily the British Empire won and abolished slavery, freeing half the world's population from slavery. Another person who wanted to bring back slavery and talked very highly of Islam, Adolf Hitler. You see, Adolf Hitler and Napoleon had a lot in common. They both wanted to bring back slavery. They both held Islam in high regard and wanted Islam as the main religion in Europe. World War II was again another war for the freedom of the world. This ancient war carried on in the form of a Cold War